Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new season of ESL Talk. Here we are now in season 5. It has been a long time coming, so I'm really glad to be able to finally get season 5 live and to give you more content for a brand new season of the podcast. Now, you'll probably hear that it's just me at the moment, and there is a reason for that. So, Faye unfortunately will not be joining us this season. As you may have seen through her social media, she did recently announce that she is currently battling cancer. Obviously, it's something that none of us anticipated, and we're quite saddened to hear this news. I know a lot of you have already reached out in support, so I'm really thankful, and I'm sure she is too, to see the amount of support that she's been receiving. If you would like to help Faye and support Faye in this battle, then there is a link on our Instagram page where you can go ahead and make a donation. That will just go towards helping her with her medical costs and just supporting her during this really difficult time. So I did just want to say on behalf of me and Faye, thank you for all the emails, the messages, the comments, and all of the support that you've given the podcast over the last 4 seasons. And I'll do my very best to keep everything moving in the same vein as we move on into season 5. As always, if you enjoy the podcast and you like what you hear every week, please feel free to subscribe and drop a 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. That really helps us just get better exposure and ensures that we can help even more teachers who listen to us week by week. So, if you'd like to join us for an episode, if you'd like to be a guest and share your journey, talk about your story, talk about maybe your business or your teaching passion, then do feel free to get in touch. You can either send us an email to esltalkpodcast@gmail.com. You can join us on Instagram at esltalkpodcast. And you can also go to our website, which is esl-talk.com, and you can click the link Be a Guest, fill in the quick form, and I will get back to you so that we can arrange a time to interview and help our teachers and our community learn even more and be even better ESL teachers. And just finally, before we get into today's new episode, if you are an online English teacher looking for materials, lesson plans, and ways to really cut down on your planning time and make the most of your lessons, we're really happy to announce our new partnership with Crystal Clear ESL, where you can find over 500 interactive ESL lesson plans and materials. They're ready to go. Just have a look, sight in, find the level that you want, and you can get started immediately. So if you want to take a look at those materials and access your free trial, just go to esl-talk.com. At the top of the page, you can just click the link, Teaching Materials, and you can get started with your free trial of over 500 plus English ESL teaching materials, thanks to our partners at Crystal Clear ESL. All right, so let's get into today's new episode. And today we're going to be joined by our special guest, Erika Jeong. She is a published author and travel writer, and also a blogger. She recently moved to Vancouver to pursue her studies as a student, learning in a new country, in a new culture, and trying to settle in Canada. So, in this episode, we'll go a little bit deeper and we'll try to actually listen to the perspective of a student and really go into conversation about her journey, how she uses English, how she learns, and how she develops her own materials and how she develops her own content for her online blogs and her online space. She's extremely popular on Instagram and TikTok, where I believe she has more than 10,000 followers, and she's going to share a little bit about her journey with us. So let's get started and let's listen from our guest Erika in our brand new episode in season 5. Here we go. Hi, Erica. Thank you for joining us today on ESL Talk.
Nice. Hi. 안녕하세요. Nice to
Hello,
talk to
hello. Yes, good to see you, Erica. Thank you for joining us. And today you're going to talk a little bit about your journey as a travel writer and a blogger as well. So this is quite exciting. So could you just share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and your kind of journey so far?
I see. Yeah. So now I'm working in Vancouver as a marketer at a local food tech company. But before moving to Vancouver, I was working in Singapore. I was doing marketing and business development. and I wanted to move to Europe actually, but COVID happened, and I don't know. So this is a little bit of a side story, but the reason why I moved to Canada is that I got an answer during my meditation. So
Mhm.
Canada was never in my list, but somehow I was lost during that pandemic. I was back at home in Korea. I was like, oh, what should I do next? Then I was in my like deep meditation. Then I got an answer like, okay, Canada. So that's how all started. I started searching what I can do in Canada. So I did MBA at UCW where we met as a student and a teacher.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've been always writing, I've been always making content. So now I'm working as a marketer, and also I'm a published travel writer and also content creator.
You missed the word best-selling author.
Uh, yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yes. No, that's great. So just before we get to kind of now, in Singapore, how was it kind of communicating and using English on a daily basis? How did you find that?
I see. Yeah, so I was born and grew up in Korea. So until 2020 was when I first like started traveling, and so I got like very regular education in terms of English and just like everything. Yes. So when I moved to Singapore, my English level was just very average, like average Korean university students level.
Hmm.
But once you start working, you always learn a lot. It's like you are on survival mode, right?
Yes.
So either you get through it or you get, I mean, you get no job. So
Yeah.
I remember for the 3 months, I was really like stressed out. Like, oh, what if I get fired? Like, I didn't understand fully like during the orientation session. But looking back, I don't know, that was really like big learning curve that I
Yeah,
needed to go through.
absolutely. I think being surrounded by it and having to do it, you don't have a choice. It really
Oh
pushes you to improve. And that's what I found when I was living in Korea as well, learning a new language. So how did you first start your journey in travel writing and blogging? Was this just something that you had an interest in? And like how did that kind of develop to what it is today?
Mm. I've been always writing, like since I was young. I loved reading and writing because I had so many thoughts. So writing is my way of like organizing my thoughts and decluttering my head. So
Hmm.
I've been blogging since maybe 19. I have my old blog on Naver, you know Naver.
Yes. Do you have a Sci World too?
So of course, yes. Yeah, that's okay. That's really deep. Yeah, so I'm always blogging, but the I had this turning point in my life. So I got into a car accident in Singapore,
Hmm.
and I woke up in the bed in hospital, and I realized that I can die anytime. And would I regret that I didn't pursue my dream, or that I just lived like comfort life, like an easy, safe life? The answer was like, of course, like I don't want to regret that I didn't pursue my dream. So I started thinking, taking everything seriously about my content. So I imagine myself being already a published writer. Then how would my work look like? It must be really professional, right? Like a lot of research needed to be done, and then the writing should be also very like professional, like in every sense. So I started taking everything seriously, and I reached out to Singapore Tourism Board when I got pretty good like portfolio in my opinion. Like, okay, I can write things like this. And then they were like, oh, that's great. We were actually looking for a writer for our like blog.
Wow.
So I got to work with Singapore Tourism Board, and also I applied for a columnist, like a contribute writer for
Mhm.
Naver Design. So it's run by Naver, but it's all about like design, architecture, culture, everything what I love about. So
Mhm.
I also got a position as a contributor writer. I started writing about like local architects and like the culture, everything. So yeah, that's how I started. And
Amazing.
book publisher, yeah, they reach out to me through my blog. So, oh, I saw your blog post about Singapore, and we've been looking for a writer, something, someone like you. So, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And it just goes to show that, something that's just a hobby, you think, oh, no one cares, no one's going to read this. Well, actually, people do care and people are going to read it. So that's really incredible. So you kind of talked a little bit about your backstory. So why did you decide to pursue an MBA in Canada specifically and move to Canada? I know kind of you talked a little bit more about that, but why an MBA and why did you want to study specifically?
Mm. Yes. So I think for me, it was more like a logical just process because I already graduated university in Korea. I had some work experience in Singapore. So when I talked to an agency, they told me that this is like the best option for you. Of course, I could have chosen something more specific, and then I could have gone to like college again, but it didn't really make sense to me like going back to college. So
Mhm.
yes, I love to learn more about business, and eventually because I also want to start my own business. So that was kind of just a logical process.
No, that makes sense. So, what did you find was some of the main challenges, um, coming to a new country, again, new culture? Okay, yep, the language is okay, but like moving to Canada as a newcomer, what were some of the challenges that you faced moving here?
Mm. I think for me, Canada was quite easy. Like not like easy in terms of like settling down, but people are very nice. And I, of course, it was like a middle of pandemic, so the situation is not like really easy, but I
Hmm.
found the society is still welcoming, and I didn't face any racism like personally. I think Mm, when I traveled in like other countries, sometimes I could have felt like, is this like just me or what is this? But in Canada, in Vancouver, so far, I never felt that way so far. Like after 2 years
Well,
of
that's
living.
great to hear. Yeah, that's good to hear, and it's good to hear from the other side because as teachers and people who listen to this, we don't always know the struggles that students face and what they go through. So it's refreshing to hear this because that's not always the case, right? And we hear lots of different things, but well, that's great, and I'm glad that people have this perception of Canada as a safe place and a place where you can be welcomed and you can kind of be yourself, which is really important. So I think that's a great point. And obviously, as a student, you're meeting people from all around the world, from lots of different backgrounds and cultures. What were some of the challenges that they faced that you might have, learned about or that you heard about?
Mm, maybe in the beginning, finding a job, if
Hmm.
they are still very young students who move to other country for the first time. In my case, because I've already lived in Singapore, I've studied in Japan actually before that. So for me, I'm also in my 30s, so I'm like I've experienced the things, but I understand if I were like maybe like 21, I just moved out of my family's like comfort zone, then I will be probably like worried about like, oh, how do I figure things out? And you might be feeling very like uncomfortable applying for jobs because you don't feel confident about your English. But I think it's just your thoughts. You never
Hmm.
know. You are always actually like better than you think. You can do better than yeah. You shouldn't underestimate like what you can do. That's how I always think.
I
So
think that's a
yeah.
great message. Yeah, for sure. And it's good to know. And again, a lot of teachers that I talk to always ask me like, oh, I don't really know what, like students need to improve their English, but what do they need to improve? Well, in this context, especially newcomers to Canada, and it's probably the same, in the US and other countries, most people need to support themselves financially, so they need a job. So helping
Mm,
them find jobs and recruiting and writing resumes and interviews, these are all skills that I think people could really benefit from. So thank you for sharing that. So this is a really difficult question. Now, you have a really you've been very successful on social media and you have a very large following, which is amazing. You post really interesting content. How do you find and select the topics, and what process do you follow when creating the content? Because people think it's easy and anyone can do it. It's not. I know it takes a lot of time, but what's your process, Erica?
I think I'm half half. I like planning. I like planning things, and I'm also spontaneous.
Hmm.
So I have my Excel sheet. Like whenever I come up with like like new ideas, I always dump into those Excel sheet, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this in this sequence. But there are the times I get just like inspired by something. Let's say
Hmm.
after talking to you, I got this new idea. Oh, hi.
That's my dog. Sorry.
I didn't know it at all. That's so cute. Yeah. So maybe I got really inspired. I want to make this content. Then I just make right away. And I usually do things right away.
Mhm.
If I have an idea. So yes, it takes time, but for me, it's always just a fun process.
Yeah,
So
strike when the iron is hot, I believe is the expression that we'd say in English. Yeah.
oh.
Or while the sun is shining, make hay, perhaps. Yeah, I'm the same. When
Mm,
something pops in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to write this now, or I need to talk about this now. I think that's a really good point for sure.
mm,
So obviously you've been in Canada now for a while, and you've obviously lived in Singapore before, and you've adapted to those different countries. So
mhm.
what advice would you give to, newcomers or new students maybe who are studying English, and they want to move to Canada? So I'm sure you get these questions a lot anyway. What should they do maybe before moving, just as they arrive, and maybe after they've moved? What are the steps that you would suggest?
I see. Good question. Um, I think for me, the best thing always worked was having a specific goal. So, like earlier, we talked about a little bit, but I want to be fluent is very abstract.
Hmm.
What does that mean to you, right? So, for example, for me, I wanted to be working in this local company. I wanted to do like yes, I want to lead a meeting for other people. I want to communicate my ideas like nicely, and I want to articulate my ideas. I have I believe in myself, like I have great ideas, but if I cannot articulate, if I can't get my message across, it's my loss. I don't want to do that to myself. So to deliver my message correctly and then efficiently, I need to learn the words I need to know the expressions to use to like literally express my thoughts, right? So that's how I set my goals. So I have a like specific scenario in my head. So let's say I'm going to lead this meeting, like marketing meeting. Let's say I want to raise our marketing budget by this. Then I need to talk about the data, and then I need to talk about how I've been doing, like why we need to do this. Then okay, I need to structure my thoughts first, and then how can I like communicate this as effectively as possible. So then now I know like where I want to go and then where I am now. And okay, then I need to work this way. So that's how I like set my goal, like regardless, like no matter what it is. So English is the same. If I want to lead a meeting for maybe like a 10 people, then like how fluent should I be, right?
Hmm.
That's my
Yeah,
way.
I think that's a great approach, and you think in a similar way to the way, as teachers think, which is here's the goal we need to get to, here's how long we have, here's how we're going to do it, here's the steps we're going to take, and we try to work backwards from there, to achieve those goals, which is wonderful. So, Erica, what is something you wish you knew before moving to Canada and Vancouver specifically, and how could this help other newcomers? If we're new to a country or a new place, what should they know for Canada specifically?
I see.
Mhm.
Right. Um, Many people say the weather can be quite challenging during the winter time, but personally, I don't really mind it that much. Yes, it rains a lot. That's just fact.
Hmm.
But do I want it influence my life? Like, oh, like it's raining again. Like, I don't want to do that to myself. So I just try to focus on what I can do when it's raining, and of course when it's sunny outside. I love going out and I go to nature. So don't I want to say that don't be discouraged by the weather or just anything like external situation. You just find the things you can enjoy and then the ways you can make your life more joyous, I guess.
Yeah, it's the little things in life, right? I think is what
Yeah.
you're trying to say. What about in terms of, practical day-to-day things? What's something you wish that you knew that could have helped?
Oh yeah, maybe budgeting. Actually, living cost here is really, really expensive, like
Yes.
way more than I expected. So yeah, and also income tax is way higher than
Hmm.
Singapore. So even if let's say you are getting the same salary, but here the actual net income will be way less.
Yes.
So now I'm in this situation. Okay, I need to like set my budget like more realistically, and I'm trying to find ways to make more like extra income. Of course, I want to save more money, but I want to like earn more so that I can
Yeah.
provide myself better.
I totally understand, and that's the difficult thing for everyone, and especially for people listening. A lot of teachers or a lot of students who listen to us, they always ask, "How can I make more? How can I earn more?" And it takes time and hard work, and you know,
Mm.
being able to be resourceful, and it's difficult. It really is, especially as a newcomer to a new country, for sure. So, tell us, Erica, what are your professional goals going forward, and how are you going to plan, develop, and build your social media and your kind of your business interests in the future?
Yeah, so you are actually my like a mentor in terms of that career because
Oh wow,
you
thank
are
you.
already doing that business helping international students and newcomers. So I wouldn't be necessarily doing something with English, but because it's not my strength. But around the topic, I also want to do something. That's why I've been making these content, and also I'm going to do more interviews like what we did just now with you. So sharing more stories from like other people who moved to Canada and then how they've been navigating their life here. So because it's always, I don't know, for me it's always nice to hear people's stories. Everyone's stories are different, so you never know, someone's story really inspire you and then you start taking some action. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do.
I love it, and it sounds like you definitely have a clear idea of where you want to be. We just gotta execute it now, right? That's the difficult part, putting in the hard work. That's great, Erica. So, how can our listeners find out more about you and get in touch with you and kind of look at and enjoy your posts and your content?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So all the channels are the same. Erika, Erika dot Jeong, Jeong. So
That's
yeah.
perfect. I will definitely leave a link to that so our listeners can check that out. And it's been awesome to listen to your experience and find out, what's worked for you and the challenges and things you face since coming to Canada. So thank you so much for taking time to join us today, Erica.
Oh, thank you so much. My pleasure.
Alrighty, I hope you really enjoyed the interview that we had with Erica and enjoyed the perspective of a student coming to a new country, having to use English, develop English, and hopefully you got to learn a little bit about her challenges and how they can affect some of the students that we teach, and also get a better understanding of what it's like from the other side as a non-native speaker moving to an English-speaking country and trying to adapt and develop and grow professionally and academically. So, thank you so much for joining us this episode. As always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ESL Talk Podcast. You can also send us an email, esltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Also, feel free to check out the website, esl-talk.com, where you can click the link to be a guest. You can also find all of our episodes for free. There's also the link to the teaching materials. And as I mentioned earlier, if you do want to support Faye as well during her journey and during this difficult time, please feel free to click the link on the website, and you can also follow the link on our Instagram page too. We will be back next week for another new episode, so hopefully we will see you all then. And in the meantime, stay safe, be well, and we'll catch up next week. Thank you. Bye bye.